Dear Venerable Sisters and Brothers, Dhamma friends, we are going to start today's talk. May everyone settle down and give the consent with sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse Bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Katami tayo dhamma pahatabba tisso tanhati ti. Dear Venerable Sisters, Brothers and Dhamma friends, we have taken this topic from the Dasuththara Sutta, and whereby Venerable Maha is hinting us that we must know there are three things we have to abandon. And namely, the three kinds of cravings or greediness. So, simply we call tanha, the greediness, greedy. And then when we are working it with, we have to cut into pieces. And then it is easier someone to get rid of that, abandon them one by one. The way they have been listed also equally indicating the first thing, the kama tanha, is the first thing you have to deal with to start. When and where that become possible, pragmatic, and appear like somewhat positive, then you must be prepared for the second advanced course, that is to understand bhavatanha, and then at last, or maybe as an alternative to bhavatanha, the vibhavatanha happened. The kamatanha is being translated as the greed for the sense desire, and that you can see unanimously among living beings, specifically humans, and they are expert in making it multifarious, and that is where the technology come into being. That's where the infrastructure come into being. That's where place where information technology come into being. So people are one after the other going for different facets and varietal entertainment of this sensual desire. So not that without any disadvantages and consequences, more you engage in this sense desire, equal amount of frustration and equal amount of tension is there. So that is how the hierarchy happens. More you with the sense desire, more you with the frustration and tension. So daily in the developed countries, we read how much people are imbalanced in their mental situation and how much they are succumb to this mental diseases or stress or tension up to the hysteric level of trauma. And then they go for treatments, pathological level. And the best the Western psychology can do is replace this, the hysteric level of trauma into day-to-day unsatisfactoriness. So all the Western psychiatrist has to tell them, please accept day-to-day unsatisfactoriness. If you are not going to accept it, you will end up with trauma at hysteric level. So even the Sigmund Freud says there is no natural death for psychiatric treatment. There is no end. You have to be a psychiatrist, that is the end. Patient be a psychiatrist. And still preach the Dhamma of the Sigmund Freud, telling please accept the day-to-day unsatisfactoriness. Don't be fanatic. Don't be 100% or absolute pleasure seeker. Never happen. So some consider this acceptance of this day-to-day unsatisfactoriness as something inferior. No, technology is not for that. Media is not for that. Infrastructure is not for that. Our parents accepted, grandparents accepted, but we are not. Because we have all the detailed information, and so you are chasing behind, just like chasing behind a mirage, thinking it is water. So when compared to that, the Buddha He says the first and foremost thing is truth of suffering. It is just like the gravity on the earth. So as far as you know gravity, you can think about the world, you can think about the world without gravity also. That is why we call the Isaac Newton as the one of the best scientists. So the Buddha's understanding of the gravity or attraction, theory of attraction, or this greed, exactly the same, but it was much, much, much earlier, and it is covering whole issue, not only the physicality, not only the physical part, but you have to put yourself into. You can't learn on the blackboard, just like Isaac Newton theory, and then you can't get a PhD. But here you have to understand how full you are, how much you are conditioning your children for this trap, chasing behind this pleasure principle, pleasure. More they achieve pleasure, the shadow is the frustration and tension. So where is the balance? How can you compromise? How much day-to-day unsatisfactoriness you can deal with, you can put up with. It is different from one person to one person. But generally we have to understand, we can't get rid of it. We can't replace it with complete pleasure principle. So we feel little hesitant to accept our day-to-day unsatisfactoriness. That means we don't have common sense. Most uncommon thing on the earth for the moment is common sense. They don't know the common sense. Our parents and our grandparents and the grand-grandparents, they had enough common sense to accept it. So they never chased behind the scientific search and understanding all the kind of thing to take the nature under control and to make it pleasure. So they had certain amount, but there was a kind of a compromise. So when you read in depth, or when you read the scripture, and if you compare it with the Western interpretation and the Eastern interpretation, and the people successful and people failed. So that the applicability of that interpretation and study is ever increasing. So therefore, whenever someone ready to accept this day-to-day unsatisfactoriness and accepting this indulgence of sense pleasure is pathetic. So you have to understand the utility value and where the transgression to the luxury, transgression to the materialism or consumerization. So different countries have different criterion, but no one is ready to take this as a restraint, as a moral restraint, because science at the first, right from the beginning, left aside the moral shame and the moral fear, healthy shame and the healthy fear. Then only science got the momentum. When it is gathering the momentum, the whole this shame and the fear, moral shame and the moral fear is disappearing. So end up with this hysteric level of trauma. So morality is not the direct answer, because this greed is not single-fold, it's threefold. The very first one, kama tanha, the greed for the sense desire or sensuous gratification, you can fairly deal with this moral restraint. But even if it is a universal truth, you can understand what a little proportion of people ready to take this chance. So therefore governments are going to impose it. Religion is going to impose. The police going to impose rules and regulations. Government means the legislation. They are the people make legislations. That is to impose, to tell people, do this and don't this, do do's and don'ts. But the way the Buddha present is completely different. He says, this is what happened if you break this, and therefore if you know, you can take it. And this is not the permanent answer. But safely you can say, if you take moral precepts, you are not violating morality, social norms. So you will not be punished. So that much happiness, that much peace you can have. So therefore, what the politicians are telling, there is a kind of a hint. But unlucky enough, they are not abiding by what they are talking. That is what you call politics. And economic people also, they are talking about the pleasure principle, but they never talk moral restraint. Never. They can't. It's a completely different aspect. And the sociologists also talking so much, but they themselves never take. So if you go to the UN or FAO or WHO, big people get together. But they are not worried about their own morality, their own moral shame and the moral fear. And they are talking about the world problems, big conference, air-conditioned rooms. A lot of things are happening, literature, but no avail. So therefore, Nehru, one of the greatest prime ministers, used to be in India, he told, I doubt what the Buddha says can be applied in the society at large. Because the Buddha may come out with a suggestion, but no, only little bit of people can accept it, or adhering to that, but then it's not applicable to everything. So therefore, as a government leader, my Prime Minister says, I doubt whether the Buddhism or rules or moral conduct proposed by Buddha could be advertised at the society at large. But one thing I can assure, if you follow, you will get the result in this very life. So therefore, the interpretation to the society itself is radically questioned. This is applicable to individuals. Or this is applicable when and where you become solitude. When and where you find your inner peace is highly applicable. So therefore we must not over generalize it. Of course we can tell others, this is what happens. But you have to commit yourself to the moral conduct, that is to say, not to kill, not to steal, not to have sexual misconduct, not to have lying, slandering, tale-carrying and harsh words. So then you can see the society is at peace, so you are better off. So that is what we call the moral restraint. So, but this is not talking about the complete greed, it is talking about the outermost, most dramatic crux of the greed. And when and where you become morally abiding, moral responsibilities, you feel, even though you are not violating the social norms, you are not transgressing, but still the frustration is there. Still the tension is there. So that tension, you must appreciate it, because even you are a moral being, there's a kind of a tension. That tension you can't see if you are an immoral being. Immoral beings are utterly messed. It can't understand. When and where you become moral, you understand the morality itself. They are giving a specific kind of tension and frustration. You appreciate it because now you know, even if I am a moral being, this much of tension and frustration, I have to accept it. Now I know it categorically, because earlier I was not a moral being, I am immoral. This kind of discrimination was not there. So when and where you feel, after accepting the precepts, morality, when and where you consider it, you have to follow another set of instructions, another kind of morality, the restraint, that is called concentration restraint. Samatha Sikha. After Sila Sikha, Samadhi Sikha. So this is fairly religious. This is what you call the meditation world. So when and where, once you put up with moral restraint, you will go forward to have Samadhi Sikha. And whereby you have to understand, whenever you are away from your movable and immovable properties and luxuries and amenities, you see mind is always complaining. It's true. Because wild buffalo taken from the wilderness, it's become very, very violent. When a fish taken from the water, it's become very, very violent. If you cut a earthworm into two, it's very, very violent. So exactly thing happen into you. So you must go prepared, and when and where you apply the mind to restrain your objects to single-fold, repeatable, verifiable, neutral object. Not that you can achieve it, but whenever you try to do it, so much of difficulty, so much of question, so much of friction happen. We call them obsessional kind of defilements. We call them Nissaranas. We call them the shadow of the sensuous pleasure. They are not the gross, concrete, material, object-like sensuous and sexual object, but the shadow of it. And subjectively, your mind is entertaining, roaming around what you did past and what you are going to do, and think of other people and other places. So lucky enough, it is reduced to 5. Only the meditating people know 5 hindrances. Other people are messed up with everything, they don't know. They can't make it out from the other transgressional kind of defilements. So meditators, when and where someone is happy to say, my mind is full of lust, kama chanda, you must understand it is not kama michachar. It is not sexual misconduct. This is kama chanda. It's a desire for this lust. And when and where you feel my mind is obsessed with hatred, you are not killing animal. You are not with the harsh words. It has not been transgressed, but in the obsessional form. And when and where you in sloth and torpor, you can say, when the mind becomes restrained without kama chanda and without vyapada, that means first Nissarana and the second, the lust and the hatred, what else do? Mind sleeps. Because the kama chanda and vyapada is the one make you dramatic, make you eventful. It makes so much of plans and therefore full alert. So vigilant, alert. When and where these two are reducing, the sleepiness can set in. Boredom can set in. The monotony can set in. Fearfulness can set in. And uncertainty can set in. As if you have gone to unknown area. So this, in a way, is a good sign. And then, uddacha kukkucha, the worrying about the past and the future planning. So easily you can understand, now you do not have sensuous objects, but mind is planning with perception, sensuous and organ-related things. Planning happen with the shadows, with the perception. And it is, you can clearly understand, and when and where it happened, it is very gross. You can say it is in the past, not in the future. It is not in the present moment. It past. So put a label, put into that bag. And whenever it is future, it is not the past, it is future. So you are very clearly know, you can delimit it, you can discreetly say, my mind is future. So general remark is, if you are a younger person, always mind is in future. If you are an older person, mind is in the past. Not that the middle-aged people is in the present. They are utterly perplexed. Parents, children, job, promotion, the boss, office, house, utterly messed. And they are the highest amount of suicides in the middle age. In Sri Lanka, no one noticed highest in the committing suicides. Now we have lost the medal now. Yeah, little less now. Because in the middle age, you don't know. You are being harassed, you are being hacked. And you are utterly engaged. Everyone is dragging and pulling you from you. No one is taking care about your health. No one is taking care about your mentality, exercises. Your parents are expecting something from you. Children, friends, boss, everything. You know, even with overtime and everything, you can't accord it, satisfied it. But that very fool do not do meditation. They say they don't have time. Can you imagine such a person going to have 5 minutes sitting, telling that I am in such a situation, everyone is demanding. No one is minding my own well-being, why not I? No, never happens. Even the government never recognize what a loss if such a person going to get suicidal, committing suicide. Once happened, sorry. So therefore, I am not telling younger age is better or middle age is better, old age, whatever may be, there is a due package. And past and the future you can understand. And the doubts. You are entertaining doubts. More you to the rationalization, deductive thinking and inferential knowledge, you are ever chopped into and harassed and punished and hacked by doubts. That is why it says, present day, if you count the number of marriages, the cases for divorce is more than the number of marriages because of the doubt. Before the marriage, different kind of sex. After marriage, different kind of sex. It's called the before marriage sex and after marriage sex, completely different. I have not married, sorry. I don't have direct experience, I am telling from the book knowledge. Because the doubt is burning from morning to evening. And that is much prominent if you are living in a society. Don't think if you are living in the forest, your doubts are out. No, it's utterly. And I made an observation. I know I am going to get much criticism for that. The nuns are masters for doubts, even living in the forest. So be careful before becoming a nun. You go and ask each and every nun, they are utterly in doubts. More than before ordination. More than before going into the forest. Monks also, we have little bit, but we have our way out to do it. So therefore don't think doubt is the only thing happening without a reason, without a proximate cause. All the others have kind of a thing. So doubt means, do you know what? You don't have faith. So nowadays you can see the amount of doubts. But they don't have the faith for the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha, and the faith upon your own precepts, your own moral responsibilities. Upon that they think, or that we will put it this way, the doubt pervert as an intelligence. So more intelligent people have more doubts. It's a perversion. Panya mukhena vichikiccha vancheti. Ubhepakka santirana mukhena vichikiccha vancheti. They think I am comparing only. But ultimately you end up with doubts, in the perplexion, no end, keep on. And you label it as your intellect or inquiring mind or bloody, whatever the name you are going to give. So therefore, when and where, if you know it, you have to understand you are no more in the sense desire, no more in the sensuous and sexual objects. This is a mind game. And if you can understand, the doubt is not the sensuous pleasure, kama chanda. It is not the vyapada, the hatred. It is not the sleepiness, sloth and torpor. It is not the past and the future, but it is doubt. It has its own intrinsic, personal characteristic. And when the sloth and torpor happen, it has its own private, personal, intrinsic characteristics. So you have, if you can consider the Nissarana as a subject matter, you can be a specialist on subject matter specialist of Nissarana. It is better than household life and meddling with the sensuous and sexual objects. This is a mind game, but for that you must have a positive approach, creative approach to see Nissaranas. It's a universal truth. Whenever it happens, if you can understand it, you are better off. How that connected into the meditative life is, when and where you are going to apply your mind to the neutral object, repeatable object, verifiable object, you can see some people complain, my mind is often going to the desirable things. That means he is with the first Nissarana. And it is a personality trait of that particular person. So he has to check, or she has to check, whether my distraction is always with the sensuous pleasure, kamachana. Yet another person sitting on the same hall may say, my distraction is hate, irritation. I don't have this, achieved this and that, but irritation. I get irritated by sounds, I get irritated by pain, I get irritated by the thoughts and whatever it may be. So both of them are sitting in the same place, but your complaint indicate who you are. And John Kabat-Zinn wrote the book, wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you go, you complain about the hatred. Whatever the atmosphere, you are that type, your personality trait. And some people, sleepy. If you have that kind of sleeping problem, go to a meditation center. They will teach you how to sleep while sitting. Masters. And some people say while walking also, feel sleepy. This is a magical thing. And they never complain about the desire, they never complain about the hate. If these two happen, sleepiness never happens. So what the gain if you are sleeping? So you have to understand, my type is sleeping. So when I was in Burma, I caught so much of time, head is completely bent. And I am meditating, I think I am meditating, but people come and wake me telling, you are sleeping. What to do? It's a fact. I know one very senior monk, he disrobed, because in the group sitting daily, he can't, unavoidably he falls asleep. Who ultimately disrobed. He gave up his career as a meditation master. So this is a kind of a thing, you have to accept it. Not that you are promoting it, not that you are facilitating it, you have to understand it's a characteristic, there's a personality traits, and the past and the future. Uddacha kukkucha. Some people, they don't have much about the present distraction, so present desire, but they are complaining about something happened past. Their childhood kind of torturing or abuse, ever torturing, or future plan, obsessing, or doubt. So not that it is exactly cut and dry for each and individual, but there may be some people with some combination. But that indicate who you are. So it is very diagnostic. And due to this diagnosis, you become better off. You know who am I. And imagine, while you are understanding I am often obsessed with the Kamachanda, or I am with the Vyabhada, whatever may be, still if you can keep the track with the primary object, and if you are bound to see the changing nature and the different shapes and different manners of the primary object, your character traits may not be distracting you, so you must understand how to see through, how to look through the Nivaranas, or obsessional kind of defilements, hindrances. Because Nivaranas are not a blank walls. They are like a net. So you can see through. So therefore you are gaining two things. One thing is, who am I? The second thing is, through hatred, through desire, through sleepiness, again and again you are visiting your primary object. And before and after the distraction, what is the difference in the primary object? For example, I sit and I do either sitting warm in breath and out breath, or rising and falling. And then you can see mind took some desirable object, wandered off, and when you come back you can understand, okay, mind came from a desirable object to the primary object. Imagine if you can explain the return journey. My distraction was a visual object. And while I was in the visual object, I knew I am eccentric. That is none of my business. So I wanted to come back to primary object. There is no hindrance. When I come back, I see primary object. Was it just like before going to the distracting object, or is it changed when you come back? If you can report these four characteristics, 50% of your meditation is finished. This is called resilience. Whenever mind goes back, how quickly you can come back. This is the maturity. Resilience is well accepted fact in the neuroscientists. And when the Richard Davidson is doing this experiment with the functional MRI scan, he found 2 stages only in the nervous changes. Understanding I am something wrong somewhere. And the second part is, now I am back at home. So these two he recognized while the subject is in the functional MRI. And when we learn the monastic code, the Buddha mentioned 4 stages. When and where you go out of the primary object, Sarati, he understands, I am not at home. Something wrong somewhere. And Vivarati, he is not hiding it. He never considers it as a mistake. He openly says, my mind jumped from the primary object, it went to a sound, it went to a thought, it went to a pain, and never considered as a mistake or a reason to be inferior. Vivarati. Uttani karoti, he highlighted, this is the culprit, this is the way my mind is often go astray. So highlight it on the diagnostic point of view. And then on the way back he find no problem. Again you can come to the breath. Again you can come to the rising and falling. And then the Buddha says, even if you come back, it's the most important part. If you can't report it, you won't get the benefit. You have to apologize. You have to tell, my mind went there, I was not much carried away or worrying. I took it back, I can report. The day you report, your meditation will boost up quickly. And the young children at mindful school, the way they report, you all croc never can beat. I have so much of writings, they are telling, this is my primary object, it went to that, and when I come back, I see very clearly than earlier, and that become their hobby. Let the mind run away. How quickly you can bring it back to your primary object. The moment it happens, you get a mark, you get a scoring, because the mindfulness is much, much, much stronger than the distraction. I am repeating. The distractions are so weak when compared to mindfulness. So test it. While you are testing, you can see what is the frequent distraction and how quickly you can come back to the primary object. When you come back at home, is it distracted or disturbed, or you can come back calm and quiet back at home? When you come back at home, when you see the breath is calm and quiet, you can see that is natural thing. If you give the mind jar to the child and say, shake it, and you can see the glitter become completely unruly, jumping up and down. And then if you keep for a while, naturally they settle down. There is no meditation. And then if you ask the child to let the glitter to settle down, what you have to do? Do nothing. Whatever you do is distraction. Just keep it. So let the mind to observe, which yours it is perplexed. It is with doubt. Yours it is with the Uddacha Kukkucha, past and the future. Never mind. Don't claim this me, don't claim this mind, don't claim this myself. Just observe it. So this is the point, the second type of tanha, bhava tanha. All the mistakes, if you claim this is me, mine, myself, you are ever worrying. You think, I am. I have my own soul, and it is my duty to keep the mind only with the primary object. Even it is going back, it is self, egotistic idea. And the person gave a sound distraction, you consider that particular person as an enemy. But the geckos are shouting, they are not enemies. They are shouting for the wife, not for you. And the Zen Buddhism, they say that if you go to the monastery, especially to Maikuti, the frogs, evening to morning, throughout shouting. Do you think they are distracting you? Or they are trying to disturb you? No. Asking for the spouse. That is their love song. Even though you feel like irritation. So they do only in the rainy season. At that time only that the love thing happens. So if you are going to consider frogs as your enemies, so first any frog has to enlighten, then you can enlighten. That is the world, the foolish way we are interpreting. So each and every friction must be reduced. It must be 100% efficiency and no wear and tear, no friction, then you can become enlightened. So what is the use of enlightenment under such circumstances? Your enlightenment is very important in this perplexed situation, this complicated situation, uneven situation. That is the radical way of the Buddha. He says to understand this bhavatanha, you claim this is me, this is mine, this is myself. Then onward you are the person getting tortured. So the Buddha gives so much of ways and means to challenge that. He says that the pain happens. So due to that, you can't keep the mind face to face with your primary object. So now what to do? You just be aware the pain. More and more you to understand, you find, I am not the owner of this house. Because the pain is not an invited guest. So they come at a gate crash. And then you are worried. And you have no executive powers to say, hey, get out. Body is more happy with pain than your mind. It never loses. And you are not the person experiencing it, because one day you can understand pain is there, you can get a clinical distance like distance, and pain is far away. And so you are not the executive person, you are not the owner, you are not the feeling, you can get a distance. So in the Sativasala, in our children, I think day after tomorrow they will come. They are going to have the 3 to 5 session downstairs, and that day is going to become the children day. And I am not inviting you to go there because you will disturb your timetable. When and where the children complain about the right leg pain, I ask them to, okay, when the right pain is painful, right knee is painful, you can't meditate further. So under such circumstances, if you know your main object is rising and falling or in-breath and out-breath, but the pain is there, while observing the right leg, just see the left leg. Left leg already enlightened. Already enlightened, and you never talk about that. You are only complaining about the painful leg. You can see how much we love pain, how much we love stress, how much we love the tension. Whatever you write is a tension. You don't know how to write, no tension. At a time, out of the 32 repulsive part of your body, one is giving trouble. So you are writing about that 1/3, one out of 32. There is 31 others enlightened. They are throwing parties, they are happy. You don't know. Your mind is a torturing machine. It's only searching. Go and see where the friction, where the tension, where the wear and tear. And the whole literature on the earth, mad. Because when and where you feel no pain, no pleasure, there is no language to explain. You sit and just give the chance for the mind to have a symmetrical sitting and relax and try to ask the mind to be here and now. When and where the mind become mindful about your body, how can you explain? You can't. No language can. Whenever aberration happen, friction happen, problem happen, so much of linguistic skills, articulation. Our mind is an expert because it is promoting always, just like the court is, Supreme Court is happy to have more cases, land cases, civil cases, otherwise they can't run the court. Doctors are very happy if the epidemic diseases are spreading. And economists are very happy if the count is under downfall. They are the bloody people creating these social problems. They are the very organization creating these old problems. So if you go in search and refuge, they will give the maximum trouble to you. That's why Buddha says, go to the forest, sit under a tree, go to a solitude place. You need no any agent. And our mind is very happy with these agents, and it is the main culprit, searching only the friction. And through that only, the ego trip is happening. Then you can see how the fabrication happens. When there is no pain, no pleasure or neutral, you feel very boring, of course, and very, very monotonous, and you feel very sleepy, you feel uncertain, you feel threatened, you feel spellbound, run mad. So you're waiting a bird to tweak, or dog to bark, or mosquito to come, and then onward there's a lot of things to write in the interview report. You can understand how the ego trip is happening. So Buddha is challenging you. First you got ridden of this transgressional kind of defilements, and now the obsessional happen. Whenever it happens, you have now option, because defilement is there. sensuous desire or hatred or sleepiness or past and future consideration or doubt. And here the primary object is there. They are side by side. Mind you, whatever the Kamachanda, sense desire arises in your mind, breathing is there. Do you think the mind is fully obsessed with the Kamachanda? There is no, you are not breathing? No, that cannot. But you never see, because you are completely obsessed with. But if you are sharp enough to see through this sensuous desire, for the moment we have taken an example, and see, breathing is happening. So that is what you call the radical reflection. That is what you call vipassana. And you have the head. Sounds are there, pain is there, and thinking and everything. But still if you see, due to so much of sounds, do you think the breathing stops? Never. Object the Buddha presented was intrinsic for living life, living body. Breath never leaves you. But it is boring. It is monotonous. It is unbecoming. You can't make a the ego trip with the breath. Because it is coming to the zero and disappear and then again appear. So where the self in between in-breath and out-breath? Discontinuation. But the hatred, but the love, because it is a conceptual, is continuous. So easy to hooked up to the ego, and you can make long stories. So therefore it is best to have your interview reports, keep it as your history book. When I was in Burma, I had a very difficult time to find the papers, but each and every paper I have written, I bring it here to understand the improvement, how my relationship with the pain, thought and this thing, and how often I can see through it, how often I can bring the attention amidst of thoughts, still I can occasionally see the in-breath and out-breath. Occasionally amidst of pain, I can see the in-breath and out, thinking. And there are the gap, the see-through, slowly increasing, it is painfully slow. It's a painfully slow because it's a permanent change in your life. So you have to facilitate it. Okay, I can do it. Of course, I am carried away often with the pain, thoughts and sounds. Never mind, my chances, my skill, my ways and means to see this neutral object is increasing. And the Buddha says, the meditator, the beginner, never can see this progress. Because it is happening very slowly. So amidst of all the weaknesses, if you keep on practicing, you will understand your mind is very happy to make ego trip and the self-centered stories with defilements rather than this verifiable practical object. Because verifiable practical object is ever-changing. Lot of gaps. But the hate or desire, what you made, it's a kind of a conceptual, it appears like continuous. So a story can get permanent nutriments, permanent fertilizer. So therefore you are happy more with the permanent notion than impermanent notion. So theoretically you have to feed, you must go prepared for the impermanent notion. It's a threat. It is nihilistic. So your mind, your subject and your expertise, everything is with the continuous things. That means permanent notion. Total education is on permanent notion. Total political game is on the permanent notion. And the economic theories are on permanent notion. So can you, as a one-man army, to threat it and say, no, I am about to see, I am prepared for the impermanent. That means, what is the difference between the object before wandering and after wandering? Is there any difference? Can I accommodate? Can I go prepared? While I am observing the breath, can I see the changes of the shapes and the manners? And if you become thrilled, if you become catalyzed with these changes, the Buddha says, when and where object changes the shape, the manner and the sign, ultimately they unbecome to an extent whereby you feel like as if object disappeared. Because its sign is disappearing, manner is disappearing, the shape is disappearing. So the Buddha says, object to be present, yei akare, yei linge, yei nimitte, yei uddese. Only 4 things. If you can make that 4 things available, it appear like object available. Whenever these shapes and the manners and the signs are disappearing, your mind reports object disappeared like. It's a complete misunderstanding in the coding and decoding. So when you are in the holographic photo, it's 3-dimensional. But you can put the hand in between. It's appear like everything is happening. But you can put the hand and then you find it's a camouflage in the light rays. And you can make a sound wave, putting into the 2 ears with the 2 earplugs or headphones, and tune into the stereotype way, you can feel the first jhana. But that CD is a commodity, you have to pay. And then when you change it, it will go to the second jhana, third jhana. So how nice, without renunciation, without anything, you can go to the first jhana, second jhana, but you have to pay for the earphones and for the CD. So people making so much of things while you are in the treadmill. Sometimes you have a screen whereby you can see climbing up on the mountain, like the outside become cooler and you can see far away, and as if you are on the mountain. This is all conditioning. What is the difference between this conditioning and verifiable breath? That is what you have to verify again and again. Whenever the shapes and the manners and the signs are fed into your mind, it can create something. This is the way the Creator God came into being. Not the God created you, but you created the God. My God. Because you can't live without this ego trip. You can't live without this the story. You must have someone. So better to create and just say, please, please, save me. I will do whatever you like. But you never do it, but you just promise. But here, what is the relationship between the breath? It's nothing mystics. No magic, verifiable. And the Nissaranas become magic. They make so much of camouflage. So let that camouflage happen. Let it be disproved by itself. Through Nissarana, just see, amidst of Nissarana, or midst of all the distraction, how frequently, how often you can go to the breath. While you are keeping the frequent association with the breath, see how it change the mode, how it change the sign, how it change the shape. So that is called vipassana. In the samatha way, the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, the Buddha is teaching you in the Pottapada Sutta, your sign of the first jhana, the sign of the second jhana, or perception of the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, is becoming subtler and subtler. When you go to the first jhana, nivaranas are no more, but vitakka vichara piti sukha ekaggata there. That means 5 jhanic factors. So with the help of vitakka vichara, you some or the other keep the balance in the tightrope walking. And later you find that noting and labeling, everything becoming a headache. So ultimately you do away with vitakka vichara. Then you go to the second jhana. It is much subtler, still a sign, still a perception. And from there to the third jhana, still a perception, but little subtle. And then go to the fourth jhana, it's a perception. It is subtle. And then go to the non-material jhana, and ultimately you prove it by 8 stages, this grossness, this concrete nature, slowly, slowly, slowly reducing. But if you know the art from the vipassana point of view, while nivaranas are disturbing, even at the access concentration level, you can see nivaranas are hell, making hell, but you try to keep the relationship with your primary object, but don't give a permanent notion to the primary object. Don't expect the primary object to be solid, auspicious, unchanging soul. Let that also happen, then you can see, even at the upachara samadhi level, you can cut through, everything is nothing but perception. Everything is nothing but a formation, perception. And then you can make any story. With the fairy stories, fabrications, fabulous. You will get Nobel Prize. You will get the best prize for the literature. But it's a fabrication. So you are cheating yourself. But see the verifiability of the in-breath and out-breath. See the verifiability of the touch of the ground. Left sole, right sole. The heel, the arch, the toes. One after the other is so different, so discrete, so delimited. And whenever you see, you have to see consecutively, 10, 15 steps, everything disappeared. Everything get into the system as if a fruit salad. Or you can put it in other way. You go to a buffet diet and have different colors, different shapes, different smells and different nutriment food. We'll say it is maybe too much of feeding, you vomit it. So what is the difference between the food at the desk table and what you vomited? It becomes awful. Other people can't eat it. Exactly the same thing happened at the beginning. The in-breath and out-breath is like a food at the desk. And after a while it becomes a vomitish. And what will happen when you go to the stomach? Still it becomes awful. And while going through all this thing, and when it's coming out, don't talk about this because it is not ethical. No, ethical, not etiquette. So even in the Dhamma talk, don't talk. Exactly the same thing. You see the shape, the color, the manner, everything changes. It becomes a shit. It becomes a shit. But in the early part, it's a cooking. You have a big degree, food science, nutriments, and a big shot. I also learned a little bit of food science in our agriculture. They never talk about shit. No, it is not a subject. One day very seriously, Ajahn Brahm says, after shitting, just see the shape, the color, the smell, the everything. It's teaching you. There is nothing to hide. If you are talking about the food science, why not? So if you are avoiding to see the shit, you are avoiding to see the different shape of the in-breath and out-breath. That is what you call the system approach. Ultimately everything comes into being but different shape, different color. So you can't put the label. This happened within few minutes. If you can accommodate it. You can't accommodate because you have permanent notion. You expect the same shape, same color, same image and same sign. And then only you can have the periodical cycle of the elements and the different animals, different plants, and you put binomial nomenclature and you an expert. But they never stand up to that labeling. They were changing. So that will be a threatening thing, not like getting rid of this desirable, movable and unmovable things. This is much deeper. So the Buddha says, Nati kamayani chitrani loke sankappa rago purisassa kamo. The desire is not the desirable objects outside. Your concepts and your ideas are the most craving thing. Titteva chitrani tateva loke atet dhiro vineti chanda. Leave that outside world. Take care about your likings and disliking. The day you understand liking and disliking, you are much mastered, you are much seasoned about these external attractions. So the world we're quite worried about the external attachment and the external appearance. But they never talk about my own likings and disliking. But the Buddha says, whenever liking and disliking arises, it's very gross. It is cause and effect relationship. And it's very obvious. Olarikam patisampana sankata. And before happening, you can't predict. Then and there happening. So, take care. When a distraction happens, how quickly you develop likings and disliking. When your object is changing, how quickly you consider it. It's an intrinsic characteristic of your personality. So, to diagnostic part, let it happen in the natural accord, and see it is very gross. And most important thing is, no one can observe it for you. You have to do. You can't observe a split second later. You can't observe it one thought moment before. It's exactly when it happens you have to observe. Because they are so quickly changing. And by doing all the meritorial deeds, no contribution for this, and because this is a then and there scout-like game. You have to shoot directly. So Mahasi Sayadaw says that if you climb up there, you can see lightning now in this climate. And when the lightning happens, if you wish to see the arch, if you wish to see the charper, exactly you have to wait and see, then you can see how the lightning, how do you call, this thing is happening. Not one split before, no preparation. Soon after the lightning, no signs. So if you wish to see, you have to be then and there. So this is called appamada. Don't delay. Soon you delay, you see your imagination, your hallucination. If you wish to see the breath while the sounds are there, while the pains are there, while the thoughts are there, you can exactly see what is happening. And exactly you can see how quickly it is changing. And you can see how quickly you take the distraction more prominent, more dramatic, more engaged than this primary object. And there you can see how much you appreciate defilements. Your whole life is to appreciate defilements. The day you understand not to appreciate defilement, instead, please be with the primary object, neutral object, verifiable object, even if it is boring, even the perception is becoming subtle and subtle. If you can consider this as a sign of progress and continue, the mindfulness becomes so sharp. Your resilience becomes so much appreciated and increasing, and your resistance, your tolerance, your immunity enormously growing. Not it happened through the vitamin B12 tablet, not with the injection. Your placebo effect of the meditation happen only with the preparedness. You have the complete placebo effect for the diseases, all incurable diseases you can cure if you can go prepared. I have 2 books. You are the placebo, one book. Other one says the healing capacity of the meditation. So if you do not have belief, if you do not have faith, you will go behind the psychiatrist. You will go behind the vitamins. You will go behind the painkillers. Of course you can go, no harm. I mean, this is not a crime. But each and every time you go there, you have to understand your resilience is not up to the mark. So therefore, do it for the moment. And next time, give a chance. Be face to face it. Don't appreciate nivaranas. Keep the nivaranas as a contrast to the primary object and see. And without nivaranas, no go, no fight. If there's a film without a fight, you will not go and see. You must have action-packed. And all the kind of karate, judo and all martial arts, box office. If there's no much of action, you will never go there. Likewise in the meditation, if there's no fight. If you wish to have a fight, you have to be an insight meditator. Otherwise you are escaping. But here no escapism, facing, but you are going prepared with, never claim this as me or mine or myself. As far as you are prepared and go prepared with the not me, not mine, not myself, hardly you can attribute self to another person or to climate or to a government, nothing. Everything starts here. Moment you fix your peg, your benchmark, your reference point, whole world happen in the 3-dimensional way. Moment this is disappearing, the world is different. So therefore this is the second part of desire, not the sensuous pleasure. This is something unrelated to your organs. This knowledge is not related to the eye, ear, nose, tongue or the body. So you have to understand the consciousness have outer crux, utterly related with the organs, and this is the science and the technology and physicality. And when it comes to the center, there's another equilibrium point, utterly unrelated to your senses. It's equilibrium. It can sustain by itself, but that is not the Nibbana. You have to now again go back to the center. So we'll talk further tomorrow. I think enough for the day. Hope these things will give some more catalytic effect for you to do your noble quest and be happy with whatever arising here and now. Thank you very much for listening.